Advanced Class 14, Reading Comprehension, A Lonely Girl. Hi, Fabio. How's it going? Are you all right? Are you listening to me? Fabio?
Hi, teacher. I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Okay. But
How are you doing? Good?
yeah, I'm doing good. And thank you for asking. How about you?
I'm all right. I'm doing very well, thank you. Okay. Isa, how are you? Good?
Hello, teacher. I'm good.
All right.
Are you fine?
Yep.
Thank you.
100%. Yeesh, it's cold again. It's cold. Brazil.
It's 14 degrees right now.
Oh my God.
14 degrees? What? Oh my gosh.
14?
So
Yes, really cold.
No,
Really cold.
it's like inside of the refrigerator. 14 degrees? Oh my gosh. Come on.
Here is 12.
Well,
I feel the
Marcus,
it's
No way.
even colder.
Hi.
how much there?
Regina,
Tell me I'm not
Hi,
alone.
teacher.
how cold is it down there?
12,
Oh,
Just like in São Paulo, yeah.
12
he
degree
is 26.
here, né?
Oh my
26.
gosh.
How much?
And I'm
26.
freezing. Yeah. And I'm cold
Yeah.
here. 26.
He is 35. It's raining, and I am like in shorts.
Oh my gosh. I am with my PJs.
It's hot here. Yes.
Yeah,
I am with
it's hard.
flanela PJs. I don't know how can I say that.
Flannel.
Flannel PJs.
Yes,
He's
those are
26
winter.
and I'm cold. So no way 12. No way.
I
Pass
have
on me.
no idea. Let me see how cold it is here. Let me see.
35 degrees.
No, 35 was during the day. I don't know now. Let me see now. Okay. Now it's midnight here. Okay, so
Yeah, it's true.
Oh my God.
yeah. So it would be impossible to be 35 now. Okay.
For me, 21.
28, teacher.
21. Yeah. 21 is a good one.
Okay. I found
It's better than
the app.
12.
I found the app here. Okay. Just a moment.
Em São Joaquim.
Teacher, tell your city. I can see it here.
Turim.
Turing.
Ah, yeah, it's true. I can see it.
Em São Joaquim now is 2 degree.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That is
In
cold.
Turing, it's
Oh,
24.
it's 26,
24.
34 now?
Yes.
24, 26, I guess.
Yeah, I am inside of my house with the air conditioning at 21 degrees. So it's kind of cool, okay? 21 for
teacher.
me, what? 21 is very good.
Putting in 23.
23 is the heater.
Yeah,
It's not air
exactly.
conditioner. Okay, this is heater. Okay? 21 is good enough. Okay, everyone is here. We can start the class. Before Carol says anything, let me make sure. Let me make
Carol.
sure.
Always.
Yeah.
Always, Carol.
If I don't say, I say
forget.
nothing, teacher complain with me.
Yes. I told her I'm going to fire her. Okay. It took her 10 minutes to remind me that I was not sharing my screen. I was talking
10 minutes,
to
Carol. Oh my God.
Yeah. See, that's a
That's shame.
reason to That's a reason to be fired, okay?
Give just an
Okay.
advertisement to her, teacher, not her.
Yes.
A note.
Next time, I'm not going to forgive, okay?
Ui.
You get
Okay,
a
now
red
you
card.
share, teacher. Now you share.
Yes, I'm just trying to find the passage so we can listen to the tweeting girl, okay? The girl with, yes, the girl with many tweets, many
Oh, teacher.
kicks. Yes.
How can I say bichinho ou bichinha?
What kind of
What's the
bichinha?
sense?
Não, like or her. Tipo, é a bichinha. Fala isso dela, não. A bichinha, nesse sentido.
This is a very
Oh my
particular
God.
the receive.
This is something you should ask my expert in these kind of things. Carol is the only one that can come up with great expression, okay?
Yeah.
Little
She would
pet.
say-
Oh, my little pet.
My little bug,
Little
my
pet.
little buggy, my little buggy, yeah, buggy.
Okay.
Oh, my little buggy, okay? The people there, they really don't talk Portuguese, okay? Oh,
Ó pra aí.
today
Opa, aí, ó.
today I was talking to my granddaughter who lives in João Pessoa, Paraíba. She's 2 years old, and her babysitter was calling her a woman. Talk to your grandpa. A woman. She's a
Mulher.
baby. She's a
A gente
baby.
fala assim com todo mundo.
It's an expression, teacher.
Yes.
Expression. A woman is a woman. My
I
granddaughter is
told
2
my
years old.
father, a woman.
Ah. Oh, so I'm sorry about that, okay?
He was
He's
mad
your
at me,
father.
but it's
He's your father, okay? I have nothing.
volunteer.
I have nothing against that. He's your father. He
No,
can be
I just
whatever.
told him.
You called him your father a woman.
Yes. And he was mad at me. See, my
Oh,
dad
of-
is very conservative. He's a cop. So when I call him woman, he was like, what?
What?
Don't say it again.
Of
What
What
you
is
course,
say?
he volunteer?
I would be really pissed to understand. I was pissed at the babysitter. Like, why do you call her a woman? She's a baby.
I have to like to say to my mom all the time because my mom do this. Call me or my brother a woman too. Like,
See?
oh mom, not woman, please.
See?
Really?
Yes.
You
We
guys
see
have a problem
to
there, okay?
Even to
you
male
got-
friends.
Yes.
Yes.
Make me
I
friends,
have nothing against, in English, we call them like she males. I have nothing against, okay? But you guys are weird, okay?
Oh woman or girl.
sorry.
It's not a weed.
Girl too.
Oh woman or
Okay.
girl. I don't know.
I
It's not
was
a weed. It's a
amazed.
common sense.
Common sense. Okay. So this girl for you, she's perfect. She has no problem. She doesn't even need to see her doctor. Okay, yesterday you understood that the girl has a lot of little problems. Okay, she has a compulsive disorder or Tourette disorder. So today, can you see the passage there on your screen?
Yeah.
Excellent. I asked you if you had a chance to read it again, okay? And then today we are going to play it and then we read and discuss it, right? So if the sound is clear and okay, just signal me, it's okay. If you can't hear, let me know.
A lonely girl. Farid works. Melanie doesn't like to be in public. It's an effort for her mom to even get her to go to school. Sometimes, on the bad days, She decides she can't handle being in the classroom for 6 whole hours. On the bad days, her mom lets her stay in bed as long as she reads something useful. This has resulted in Melanie having read all of Shakespeare's plays and sonnets, much of 19th century French literature, some 19th century Russian literature, and Mark Twain's collected novels and essays. These are the books Melanie's mom thinks are useful. They teach Melanie about the complexities of the human heart, but not necessarily how to have a conversation with a boy her own age. On the bad days, Melanie's mom brings her a sandwich, a glass of apple juice, and some peanuts for lunch. She sits on the edge of Melanie's bed and looks at what she is reading that day. "Getting through the Twain all right?" her mom asks. "It's okay," Melanie says. She maneuvers the food to her mouth and tries to breathe deeply and calmly, like her doctors have taught her. But calming her face long enough to take a bite is an almost impossible task. Her mouth twitches frantically, and a small bite of sandwich inside falls out. Her mom sighs, impatiently. "Oh, come on, Melanie," she says. "Certainly you can do better than that." "Mom, just leave me alone," Melanie shouts. In her mind, the words flow smoothly out of her mouth, the tone familiar in its annoyance. Listening to the words as she speaks them, however, is a lesson in deciphering. Sometimes the twitches affect even the words she tries to speak. "I'm sorry," her mom says. She pats Melanie's knee. Melanie hates the welling of pity she sees rise up in her mom's face. Tears come to her eyes, a vein pops out of her forehead, and Melanie knows exactly what she's thinking. My daughter is so pathetic. Melanie has a problem with tics. The problem began to develop when she was around 8 years old. Suddenly one day, her right eyelid began to twitch uncontrollably. Then she felt the impulsive need to roll her eyes in a circle exactly 8 times. And then her left eyelid began to twitch. And then the impulse to roll her eyes again. And so on, and so on. Soon the eyelid twitch had moved down to the corners of her mouth, and her impulse was to yawn 8 times instead of rolling her eyes 8 times. Her parents had been totally alarmed and took her to doctors and specialists. Melanie was poked and prodded, she had blood tests and gave urine samples. Was it neurological? Was it social? The doctors, looking politely puzzled as Melanie twitched and yawned and rolled her eyes, as her parents looked on in fear and amazement, were unsure how to respond to this little girl with a movable face. Finally one of them recommended a child psychologist, and all of a sudden, Melanie had a diagnosis. Melanie was seated in the waiting room with a pile of educational magazines in front of her, and she was asked to wait for a few moments while the doctor had a quick chat with her parents. She leaned back on the chair, closed her eyes, and tried to ignore the party that her muscles seemed to be having on the contours of her face. When the door to the psychologist's office opened, Melanie was invited back inside. She sat on a blue couch across from her parents. Her mom was holding a tissue to her eyes, and her dad was leaning back with his arms crossed and forehead creased. "Melanie, Dr. Jones has some important information," Melanie's mom said. Melanie looked at Dr. Jones, who was young and seemed kind. "What's wrong with me?" she said. "Well, Melanie, there's nothing wrong with you," Dr. Jones said. "But from what I have observed, and from what your parents have been telling me, I believe you have what is known as obsessive-compulsive disorder and a syndrome called Tourette's. Neither of these disorders will keep you from living a totally healthy and fulfilling life. However, I recommend, if it's okay with you, that we begin to think seriously about how we can help you manage your tics. What do you think?" Melanie tried to compose her face but felt the muscles in her left eyelid contract, as if she were winking. After 6 years of therapy with Dr. Jones, the nature of her disorders has shifted. Now Melanie does not feel the need to yawn or roll her eyes, or do anything, for that matter, 8 times in a row. It's definitely an improvement. However, the tics seem to have become worse. Now Melanie's cheeks push up into her eyes, her forehead crunches, and her lower lip juts out from under her upper lip, as if she was a Neanderthal. Her eyelids have not stopped twitching, but now she also squeezes her eyes shut impulsively. Sometimes she will feel unable to open them for an entire minute. Upon reflecting on the last 6 years, Melanie isn't sure if she's made progress or not. Part of her is proud. She is mostly able to be in school, if she sits in the back, and she has even been able to make a few close friends who accept her just the way she is. Another part of her has never stopped being frustrated with her handicap. It is a handicap, even if Dr. Jones encourages her to call it a handicap, and has never stopped seeing herself as somehow lacking or deficient. Melanie's mom gets up and leaves the room, closing the door softly behind her. Melanie wonders if her mom is scared of her. Sometimes she gets the feeling that this is the case, that her mom, not quite knowing how to treat her, simply pulls away because it's easier to pretend that Melanie is healthy and fine. Melanie sighs and puts the plate on her nightstand. The half-eaten sandwich will sit there for the rest of the evening until her mom comes in to get it. Melanie is allowed to stay in bed and rest all day on the bad days, on the days she can't control the twitching, and it is too exhausting to try to stop it. In the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, Huck is not the leader of the pack, nor is he necessarily the smartest. But, Melanie thinks, turning the page as Huck and Jim, a runaway slave, chat about life on an isolated island in the Mississippi. Huck is definitely the most complicated. He deals with the questions of what is right and fair, even against a backdrop of slavery and in the context of self-sufficiency. Melanie looks out the window and puts the book down again. She feels a bit like Huck, trapped and free, confused and strong-willed. Her penchant for twitches, as her dad says, makes her life so difficult, and there are so many people who think they know the best way to protect her. Melanie suddenly wishes she could be just like Huck and run away from all the bumbling adults in her life. There is a knock on the door, and her mom comes in again. She puts Melanie's clean, folded laundry away in the dresser, then stops at Melanie's bed and gives her a kiss on the forehead. "I love you so much," she
How was
says.
it now? Was it easier than before?
Yes.
Yes.
Or it's still difficult?
Much easier.
Well, if you notice, probably the new word here, twitch, was used 100 times, okay? Because she had this tick 100 times, okay? The
What do you know what
rest,
this means? Tweet?
twitch is when you have any kind of muscular
It's like
movement without
OCD?
being able to control it. Yeah, yes, okay? Like, it's
Trimelique.
just,
No.
Thank
It's
you.
different. It's different. It's like a tick. You know, like there are people that you are talking to them and they are kind of winking or, you know, doing like this all the time. Have you ever seen the president of the House of Representatives of Brazil? What's his name? Rodrigo Maia. Yeah.
Yes.
Pay attention to him. He's always twitching like this, or always. Okay? Pay attention. Pay attention. He cannot control himself for more than 10 seconds. He's talking to the camera and then he goes like to the sides, like this.
Teacher,
It's true.
you are so mean.
No.
Yes.
I'm just trying to explain what is twitch. Twitch is an involuntary movement that your muscles have, and that you can't control it. Understand? Some people have it in the eyes, so they wink. You know, One day I was talking to a man and the guy was winking at me all the time. I thought, oh my gosh, he's flirting with me. Okay. And I just excused myself and
Run away.
And then I started observing him from a certain distance. And I noticed that he was not actually winking at me. That was just a tick. Understand? Yes. And then I even talked back to him, okay, when I was aware that he was not flirting, okay? All right, let's read, let's discuss. Claudia, can you read this before you freeze, okay? Yes, I'll let you read the first paragraph, okay?
Don't freeze, Claudia. Don't freeze.
I'll try if I can.
Claudia freezing.
Doesn't
I don't believe this.
I come back and you're frozen. You're freezing.
I don't believe this. Just because I said before it freeze, she froze.
Oh my God, it was very good to be true.
Oh, Claudia, are you still there or no?
She's freezing. Are you freezing, teacher?
Stop joking around. Come on, read it. Fast.
Let's try again. I'll try again, okay?
Okay. You're not Frank Sinatra, but you can try again. Okay?
So,
All right.
Melanie, all right. Are you listening?
Of course I am.
Okay. Melanie doesn't like to be in public. It's an effort for her mom to even get her to go to school. Sometimes on the bad days, she decides she can't handle being in the classroom for 6 whole hours. On the bad days, her mom lets her stay in bed as long as she reads something useful. This has resulted in Melanie having read all Shakespeare.
Now it's in the past part. Having read all of
Shakespeare plays and sonnets. Much of 19th century French literature, some 19th century Russian literature, and Mark Twain's collected novels and essays. These are the books Melanie's mom thinks are useful. They teach Melanie about the complexities of the human heart, but not necessarily how to have a conversation with a boy her own age.
Very good. So far, so good, or you have any question about this part?
Essays.
Carol, do you remember what this word means?
Yes, the same composition, the same
a paper, a short novel, understand? Like if you go to Recife, they sell many, I don't remember the name of this. Cordel, yes, it's a kind of essays. Okay, you have only 2 or 3 pages telling a story of something, okay? It's a kind of literature. And Mark Twain is one of the greatest American writers, and he was very famous for the novels and the essays that he wrote, okay?
Teacher, essays can be also translated to afrescos.
What is a fresco? What is a fresco?
Literature. Afrescos.
I don't know.
I know afrescos, for example, in Capella Sistina.
It's a painting. Yes,
a
painting. Yes, that's what I know.
Is that what you're trying to say?
No.
I think that's Crônica. Crônica.
That's chronicle. Yes. That's a chronicle.
Conto em português.
Okay. That's a tale. Tale.
Conhecia como ensaios.
Essays?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are many meanings. Can be a composition. Like when you do the TOEFL test, the last part, the writing part is write an essay with at least 500 words. And then they give you a theme you have to develop and write about that with at least 500 words. Okay? That's an essay.
If you have, for example, teacher, you have a play in the theater, you can use essay to practice this play. In this meaning that is a talk.
No, then they say script. A script.
Scripted.
Okay. Yes. You get only your lines and then you rehearse your lines. The verb is not to practice. The verb is to rehearse. You rehearse your lines using a script.
Okay.
Okay. An essay is a complete story. That's the difference. When you are rehearsing, you just have your lines. You don't have the lines of everybody. Understand? It's just like in a soap opera. Each character receives his lines, what he needs to memorize. Understand?
Yeah.
Okay? Another question about this part or no? No? Okay, Isa, can you read the second part for me, please? Until falls out.
Okay. On the bad days, Melanie's mom brings her a sandwich, a glass of apple juice, and some peanuts for lunch. She sits on the edge of Melanie's bed and looks at what she's reading that day. Getting through the twang all right? Her mom asks. It's okay, Melanie says. She maneuvers the food to her mouth and tries to breathe deeply and calmly, like her doctor had taught her. But calming her face long enough to take a bite is an almost impossible task. Her mouth twitches frantically, and the small bite of sandwich inside falls out.
Yes. Questions about this?
Maneuvers.
Maneuvers?
Maneuvers.
Is manuseia.
I don't know what that is. It's a series of movements that you do in order to perform a certain task. Usually it's not a simple thing. It requires certain skills. For instance, do you drive, Isa?
No.
Do you drive, Claudia? Yes?
Ask for me.
Yes, I do. Yes,
I'm not going to ask you. I want to know from a woman. When you are, because I'm basic. I am basing my example that I have created in my mind on my wife.
Sexist.
That's why.
Sexist.
No, I'm not being sexist. Okay. I can ask you, don't judge me. I can ask you later the same question. Claudia,
Okay.
you're going to park your car.
Yeah.
Park your car. Do you choose an isolated place or you can park between two other cars without a problem? Because my wife only parks if there is a garage in front, if there are no cars in front or no cars in the back. So it doesn't.
She's practice.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
I don't have problem to stop between two cars.
Yeah, to park.
Me too.
To park.
Me
That's
too. Me
why-
too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Since these two cars is big.
Far away.
Yes, exactly.
One is in one block and the other is in the other block. You can park in between
No,
them.
Yes.
Peter, I'm a good driving.
Yeah, but
Driver.
parking in between two cars requires a lot of maneuvers. It's
Yes.
not simple.
Yes.
I remember I learned how to drive in the United States, not in Brazil, because I was too young to drive in Brazil. My father was very strict. My father never let me even touch the car because I was a minor. Then I went to the United States. There, it was possible to learn how to drive at the age of 16.
Yes.
I was 17, so I decided to learn how to drive in the United States. And it took me some time to learn how to park in between two cars. But my instructor was very good. He taught me a series of maneuvers that would let me park very well. And he always told me, oh, I remember like it was yesterday, just park beside the other car in front. The wheel of your car has to be in the same alignment with the wheel of the other car. Then you turn your steering wheel twice and you back up. When the front of your car is at the end or at the rear of the other car, you just turn twice to the other side and blah, blah, blah. And I remember that my question was, okay.
Oh, teacher, speaking really fast.
Well, I was
No, I
giving you
understand.
a series of maneuvers, okay?
Let's take notes to try.
Now I got it.
You don't know how to park. You see? I should have asked you. Yeah.
I told you, didn't ask to me.
Okay, but listen to the most important thing. When you park beside the other car, I told him, but how close should I be to the other car? Because that was my doubt. Because you can't park really close to the other car. He told me, imagine that a horse can pass between your car and the other car. Enough space for a horse. And how big is, no, I asked him, how big is the horse?
It's an important question. It's an important question.
And he showed me the middle finger. Understand? I was very upset. Okay. How big is the horse? And he was, I said, okay, I will try to imagine.
It's big.
Yes. Anyway, that is a maneuver. So in order for her to eat, because her cheeks and her lips, they keep twitching up repeatedly, frantically. So what happens when she's going to put the food into her mouth? You know, she can't, and then the food falls out. See?
Now I understood the meaning.
Yeah, so she maneuvers the food to her mouth and tries to breathe deeply and calmly, like her doctor have taught her. But calming her face long enough to take one bite is almost impossible. Her mouth twitches frantically, so rapidly, that a small bite of sandwich inside falls out. Understand? Any other question about this or no?
No.
Oh, Max, I will write down the instructions how to park between two cars, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Do it very well.
I will try.
Before I send you the instruction, could you please read the other part, please?
Yes. When I start.
On the bad days.
No, I found it. On the bad days, Melanie's mom brings her a sandwich, a glass of apple juice, and some pineapples for lunch. She sits on the peanuts. Okay, peanuts for lunch. She sits on the edge of Melanie's bed. Edge.
You already read this part. Uses
Yes.
verb. Yeah, the maneuver.
Yes.
Yes.
Finally
I-
falls out.
Her mom
Her mom
signs.
Yes,
signs.
her mom.
Her
Oh,
mom
Carol,
says,
you are definitely going to lose your job. I can't give you more than 10 seconds. Okay? Carol, you're not paying attention to the class.
Okay, teacher. Okay.
Pay attention, Carol.
Strangers.
Her mom sighs. You read this part too?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so
No. It's
No, this part, no. This is
No,
right.
it's
Her-
not here.
is
Her
right.
mom.
so
Mom
Max,
sighs.
you start her mom sighs
Pay attention, Max.
impatiently.
I'm looking for hormone sites. Now I found it. Hormone sites
Sighs.
sites.
No, there is no
T.
T.
Yeah,
T
now I see.
is another word. Okay?
Now I see.
Sighs
Her mom
is
sighs
impatiently.
impatiently. Oh, come on, Melanie, she says. Certainly, you can do better than that. Mom, just leave me alone. Melanie shouts. In her mind, shouts. In her mind, the words flow smoothly out of her mouth. The tone familiar in its annoyance.
Annoyance.
Listening to the words as she speaks them, however, is a lesson in
Deciphering.
deciphering. Sometimes the tweets affect even the words she tries to speak. I'm sorry, her mom says. She pats Melanie's knee. Melanie hates the welling of
Pity.
she sees rise up in her mom's face. Tears come to her eyes, a vein pops out of her forehead, and Melanie knows exactly what she's thinking. My daughter is so pathetic.
Good. Thank you. Any question about this part? Fábio, Carol, Regina, Isa.
Flow smoothly.
Welling of pit.
Okay, let's start here first. I'll get there, Isa. Flow smoothly.
Flow.
Flow, that means comes out like the river flows.
Okay.
Okay? Like the water flows in the river. Smoothly means without any rudeness. No, it's not rude. It's smooth. Sometimes when you pass your hands on a baby's face, it's very smooth.
Okay.
But if you pass your hands on an old man's face, it's not as smooth as a baby because of the lines of aging. Okay?
Yes.
So the words flow smoothly out of her mouth. The tone familiar in its annoyance. In her mind, she was talking to her mother nicely. But the problem is because of all the twitching, she shouted. Okay? Leave me alone! Okay, and the mother got a little upset because of this. So sometimes the twitches affect even the words she tries to speak. Okay?
Okay.
And then the mother got a little offended. The mother said, "Oh, I'm sorry." Okay?
Yes.
What
She
means pets? Pets,
Okay.
teacher.
Yeah, pet. If you say pet, is P-E-T, pet, like a domestic animal, like Isa was holding her favorite pet, okay?
Okay.
Pet with A is when you like pass your hands on someone. She pats Melanie's knee, okay? Maybe a good expression to learn for the single girls is a hard patting and a soft patting, okay? Like when you go out with a guy, how was it? Ooh, a lot of hard patting, okay? That means whoosh, whoosh.
Misericórdia.
Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Mercy, mercy, okay? And soft petting is just a few kisses and hugs. A hard petting is a little more than that. It's very common, understand? Yeah, it's not necessarily what you're thinking. It's almost
I
there.
got it.
It's just hard petting, understand? A lot of hands going into wrong places. That's hard petting, okay?
Okay.
Welling of pity. Okay. Carol, you told me that your parents, they live in the countryside, right?
Yeah, right.
Do they get the water there from the water company or they have a well?
No, we have a water company.
Okay. I used to have a well in my house for many years, but there was a long period of drought and the well dried, understand? So after 5 years, I had to contract the services of the water company because the well dried out. There was no more water. It never recovered. So a well, in some stories, you have a well of wish or a wishing well, okay? Like where you throw a coin and you make a wish.
Okay.
Melanie hated in her mother the welling of pity, sorrow, you know? Like maybe how much sorrow the mother felt towards her. She was a well of pity, okay? That's the idea.
Well, in this sense, the well is the same as the well that you put water?
Yes.
That you have water, yeah?
Yeah, but without water.
Sim, yes.
Poço de piedade.
Dó.
Piedade, dó, okay? She hated this, understand? She sees rise up in her mom's face. Tears come to her eyes. A vein pops out of her forehead. And Melanie knows exactly what she's thinking. My daughter's so pathetic. Okay? This is her opinion. Maybe the mother is not even thinking that. Any other question about this or no? Nope.
No.
Fabio, can you read this next paragraph for me, please? Melanie has a problem with ticks.
Melanie has a problem with ticks. The problem began to develop when she was around 8 years old. Suddenly, one day, her right eyelid began to twitch uncontrollably.
Uncontrollably. Yes, I have said this before. Maybe you were not here. When you see a long word, you can break it up in prefixes and suffixes. Here you have is a prefix and bli is a suffix. And the main word is control. So uncontrollably, okay?
Uncontrollably. Okay, I got it. Then she felt the impulsive need to roll her eyes in a circle exactly 8 times. Oh my gosh. And
yes.
then her left eyelid began to twitch. And then the impulse to roll her eyes again. And so on and so on. And so on and so on. Soon the eyelid twitch had moved down to the corner of her mouth, and her impulsive was to yawn 8 times instead of rolling her eyes 8 times. My God.
Yes, she had a serious problem. Okay, so it all started with the right eyelid. Eyelid is this part here. Okay, when we close, okay, like yes, when a guy is killed, sometimes the eyes are open. You see people going down and closing the eyelids. So this started twitching up, the right one. And then she I don't know, that's her mind probably. She thought, if I roll my eyes 8 times, I can diminish the twitching. But then the other side started twitching, and she would also roll it 8 times. Oh, no.
Oh my gosh, she practically an exorcist here.
Yes. Maybe she needed an exorcist. Yes,
Oh,
maybe.
gosh.
Okay. They took her to the doctor. Maybe they needed to take her to an exorcist. And then what happened? The lips started twitching, the corner. And then she felt like yawning, like 8 times to control the twitching. So.
Bad because I think it's funny.
No.
It's not funny, I know.
Imagine she had, as she described it herself, a movable face. Nothing would stay in place, understand, for more than a few seconds.
Yes.
Any
Young is open your mouth.
That's when you're feeling sleepy, you start yawning. I think yawning is even more contagious. It's more contagious than COVID-19.
It's true. It's true.
It is absolutely true. Nobody has ever, I have never read any serious study about this, but if you start yawning in front of an audience of 500 people, in 5 minutes, and probably if, you see, this is already yawning.
Yes, already so.
And in a few minutes, I will be yawning too. This is contagious, even online. It's worse than COVID-19.
Yeah.
Okay, another question or no?
No. No.
Okay, let me see. Me, can you read this next paragraph for us, please? Her parents had been totally alarmed.
Her parents had been totally alarmed and took her to doctors and specialists. Melanie was poked and prodded. She had blood tests and gave
urine samples.
Was it neurological? Was it social? The doctors, looking politely puzzled as Melanie twitched and yawned
and rolled her eyes
as her parents looked on in
fear and amazement.
Were unsure how to respond to this little girl with the movable face. Finally, one of them recommended a child psychologist. And all of a sudden, Melanie had a diagnosis.
Okay? Any question?
Poked and prodded.
They are synonyms. They are exactly the same. When you go to a doctor for a regular checkup, I don't know why, but they always ask me to take off the shirt, to lie on the bed, and then they start poking my stomach, poking my intestine, like, ugh. Does it hurt here? And they poke. Does it hurt here? And they prod. So they're synonyms. The idea is when you insert your fingers, into someone to examine, or I don't know, okay? To do something. I don't know why, but the idea is this.
Can I
Both of
use
them.
poked, for example? She poked me to say something. In this sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can say. Okay. Somebody was poking me at the bus. I don't know why. And then I realized that my backpack was opened. Understand?
Okay.
That's the idea. It can be not, it's not only used for examining. Understand? I remember once, the first time I saw this word, I had gone to a friend's house because there was a birthday party, and his mother had made a beautiful birthday cake. And it was on the table, but she put a sign in front of the cake, no poking before the party. Understand? That means nobody was supposed to go there and, poke the cake. Understand?
Yes.
Another question or no?
Amazement.
Yeah, this is when you are greatly surprised. Like amazing. Amazing is the verb, amazement is the noun. They looked on in fear and amazement. Like they didn't know what was her problem. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
No more questions. Eric, can you read the next part for me, please? Melanie was seated.
Okay. Melanie was seated in the waiting room with a pile of educational magazines in front of her, and she was asked to wait for a few moments while the doctor had a quick chat with her parents. She leaned back on the chair, closed her eyes, and tried to ignore the party that her muscles seemed
Muscles. Yes.
Muscles seemed to be having on the contours of
her face. Yes.
Face.
Yeah, because imagine, she was waiting, so she leaned on the chair, she reclined, she crossed her arms, she closed her eyes, and she tried not to think about all the movement that she was having on her face, understand? That's the idea. The party that her muscles seemed to be having on the contours of her face. Any other question about this part or no?
What means pile, teacher?
A pile?
Yeah.
Yes, it's when you put one thing on the top of another, you make a pile. Okay?
Okay.
When Isa broke up with her boyfriend, there was a pile of other boys waiting, or a pile of other women waiting outside, okay? You told me you can say woman to refer to a guy. You said you can.
It's for Isa.
No. Yeah, okay? Oh, mulherada, let's go in, okay? I'm free again.
I never said.
Yeah, just started. Erica, finish reading this. Come on, the class has already finished. I'm already a pumpkin here.
When the door to the psychologist's office opened, Melanie was invited back inside. She sat on a blue couch across from
Coach is a physical preparator of a sports team, a coach. Like it's very common nowadays to listen to people say, I'm a coach. Couch is a sofa, okay?
Okay.
Couch
across from her parents. Her mom was holding a shoe to her eyes, and her dad was leaning back with his arms crossed and forehead creased.
Okay.
Creased. Melanie, Dr. Jones has some important information, Melanie's mom said.
Okay. Any question about this part?
Crescent.
What?
Tissue.
Tissue. A Kleenex. You know a Kleenex?
Kleenex.
Yes, you know what's a Kleenex?
No. Kleenex.
Kleenex, yes.
No, I don't know.
Carol,
Really?
do you know
It's a paper
tissue paper?
Yeah, tissue paper that you use
Ah, okay.
to remove your makeup. Okay, like
Okay, I know.
Kleenex was the first tissue paper invented in the United States. And it's so common that it became, people associated the name, the brand of the product with the product. It's just like when my wife writes a shopping list for me, she writes, for example, 1 package of Bombril. She never writes scrubs, understand? She writes Bombril because we associate the product with the name of a famous manufacturer. And here, of course, they were not going to make a free advertisement for Kleenex. But everybody uses Kleenex. They don't say tissue, okay? She was holding a Kleenex to her eyes, maybe because she was crying. Okay? And her dad was leaning, reclining back with the arms crossed. Now the other part, I needed Gloria to help me.
Regina,
creased. It's I can't do that. Believe it or not, even if I try, I am 60 years old, but I don't have those lines, aging lines, you know.
Okay.
It's like some people when you can see a lot of lines formed here in the forehead. I don't have any line. I don't know why. I wish I had some.
Because you're so young, teacher.
Yeah, you're young, yes.
Yeah, young. Yes,
when I am squinting my eyes, my
I have a lot of.
have a lot.
That's it.
Yes.
I think this has nothing to do with age because even if I squint my eyes, look.
See?
There is not a single line here, so it would be impossible to be creased. No stress, my ass. Okay. No stress, my ass. No stress. You think life here is just gelato and pizza every day?
Yes.
It's like life in Europe.
Yeah.
It's pizza.
Pizza that I make at home, fato em casa, okay? I only go out to the supermarket to buy things. That's the only place where I have been going in the past few months. I don't go.
So am I.
To any sightseeing place or touristy place. I spent like Saturday and Sunday at home. I didn't even open the window to look outside. Yes. Maybe a virus would come inside, so I didn't open it. I don't know. The cases are increasing here. So, I'd rather stay home. Any question about this or no? Oh, guys, I'm sorry. We have to stop here, okay? We don't have any more time. It's already 1 o'clock in the morning here. Okay.
Oh my God.
I have a very important interview tomorrow at 9 a.m. So I have to be ready for that. Get some
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck, teacher.
Good luck.
Good luck, teacher.
Thank
Break
you.
the leg. I don't know if I can use
Yes.
this. Break the leg.
I need to break both legs. Okay. Thank you very much. Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you, teacher.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
guys.
teacher.
Bye.
Guys,
Guys,
tomorrow.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
teacher.
Bye
Bye-bye.
tomorrow.
You.
Bye-bye.